Hey everybody, it's JJ again. Back with our weekly series with the Joplin Regional Business Journal. This time we're down on 5th and Wall and going to visit David Clymer. David Clymer owns a little place called MyMedLab. And we're going to go in and find a little bit about it. Ready to follow me in? Alright everybody, it's JJ here. I'm here with my buddy David Clymer, and we're here in MyMedLab. And a lot of people don't know what MyMedLab is. It's a little hidden gem down here on 5th and Wall. And we're going to talk to David for a minute as we go through this series and discover all the ins and outs and all the businesses around that a lot of you don't even know. I thought what a good opportunity to talk to Dave. And with that, I'll turn it over to David Clymer. Tell us about MyMedLab.
Well, I started working in the lab business about 30 years ago for Upshur Laboratories, a couple blocks away from here. We're pretty much a virtual company at this point. We provide about 300 lab tests through about 30 different labs in 45 different states, and we do about 50 tests anywhere in the world. So we're a citizen scientist group where I always tell people we're not trying to replace your doctor, we're trying to make you a smarter patient. And I think it's one of those cases. So we do have a physical location, but our virtual site at MyMedLab.com is where anyone, not only in Joplin, but around the country and around the world can begin to engage in the process of their health.
Nice. And what made you think there was a niche for you to fill this business, David?
When I worked for other labs, we did health fairs, so we were in the business of being able to, every January, everybody learned about their health. The problem was that typically what would happen is they tell you in January your cholesterol was high. You would spend the first couple months in the gym killing yourself, and then you realize you still had 10 months to wait before you could figure out if what you were doing was making any difference. And so that's really where we started to put the power of the simple diagnosis, things like glucoses and cholesterols and things that people can understand at the fingertips of the user. So
I mean, that's phenomenal then to do that. Are people starting to discover that ability and do it or not?
They are. I mean, we have clients, we have about 80,000 clients around the world that have we've given them the tools to be able to begin to trend those things themselves. So I'm always telling people that knowing a single number is better than not, but all the magic's in the trend. It's where you are today versus where you were 6 months ago, and giving you the chance to try to predict where you are 6 months from then, finding problems early, and having an intervention yourself before you reach the point of having to go into the mainstream medical world of those kinds of things. So it's I think that people are getting smarter. People are not as frightened of the big 20-letter words like they used to be. We try to put everything in as simple terms as possible. I'm basically a weaver of all of the complicated pieces into a much simpler version for the individual to use, not only for themselves but for their family. Our largest demographic is females between 25 and 55 who are not only in charge of their own spouse and children's health, but also their parents. And this is a way to really engage in that process and pull the doctor in and ask for the advice. But as far as the gathering the information and learning, that's really always been your job to begin with.
So. Sure, it has been our job. But somebody who hasn't been good in their job, a fat guy like me, what gets me started now? I want to take my health serious, and where do I go from there then, David?
You can visit us at MyMedLab.com. We have it's broken down as simple as male and female, under and over 40. So there's no real knowledge required. What we try to do is use the same basic tests that you would use in a comprehensive insurance physical to begin to put the baseline numbers together, and then the goal is to come back and test once a year, twice a year as needed to be able to see them, and then we automatically trend all those results for you. So we do all the hard work and the heavy lifting in the back. It's a matter of coming onto the site, choosing the test, printing out your order. Quest Diagnostics is our local provider, so You could be printing off your order and headed to the lab at the same day.
At the same day. I mean, that's phenomenal. That's genius. What everyone wants to know as we evolve and we go through here. I mean, you're a kid. You grew up in Carl Junction, so you're from the Joplin, Carl Junction area, and I think you told me you're going to die here. I mean, this is where you're going to spend your life. So where's the future of MyMedLab, and where do you see this going to then, David?
Well,
as we evolve.
We've spent the last 20 years pretty much improving the science for others, and I tell people those days are over for me. Now I'm going to do the ones that I'm the most passionate about, that I think I can have the most impact on. Some of those are environmental, like glyphosate or Roundup, the pesticide amount in our area that's part of where we live in an agricultural world. Some that are more functional, looking at source of the problem rather than what traditional medicine would do as far as trying to mask a symptom with a pharmaceutical. We're actually trying to better understand body the machine, the microbiome, what people take probiotics and those things for. Those are just fascinating worlds to me that are just opening up in front of us as science allows us to see smaller and smaller and really understand that everything is an ecosystem, that you don't change one part without having ramifications.
Let's talk about the DNA side of it for a minute then, David. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Again, as we learn more about us as far as DNA and genetics, it's always, I'm still much more a fan from a health standpoint of the genetics in you and on you, as your flora and those kinds of things, because it's so malleable. It basically changes every time you eat something. The world of being able to look at your own genetics and make really predictive guesses is still pretty much coming, but not yet ready for prime time. The main place that we're using genetics here is in establishing paternity. It's something we've done for almost 20 years here. We've helped many from newborns to senior citizens to be able to identify the company. We call that part of our service DNA Solutions. So we work with local lawyers, courts, things like that for paternity, as well as private individuals who want to learn more, trying to establish paternity while the parents or the siblings are still here.
What have you learned now coming out of the lab and owning your own lab, David? I mean, I guess your own business. What have you learned in business?
Well, I think that one of the things that my mentor, Dr. Upshur, always taught me to do was put yourself in the position of the patient. And when you do that, I think that you develop a much more customer friendly and centric. It's about empowering the user. It's not about making it so difficult that they can't understand what happens in medical and legal and all of those things. And I think as I'm excited about what the future has to hold for individuals learning about that information for themselves, making better decisions, and having healthier lives both for themselves and their families.
Hey, great to have you out here in this world, brother.
All right.
J.J. Spurlin, Joplin Regional Business Journal, bringing it at you one more time. I'll see you next week.